What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Now that I've reviewed all the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, it's time to rank all 5 of these movies from worst to best. So let me know in the comments what your rankings of the Daniel Craig Bond movies were. As always, this is just my list and not a definitive ranking. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these videos, as it helps me out immensely by getting my content out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time, and let's jump into the list. In last place is Quantum of Solace, the black sheep of Craig's run, as it was made in the midst of the writer's strike, and called for Craig and director Mark Forster, neither of whom are writers, to go in and do rewrites and fill in the gaps that were left in the previous draft. And it shows all throughout this. While this is a direct sequel to Casino Royale and is Bond out for revenge after that last film's events, you actually kind of forget that's the case after a while. The strong emotional core that fueled Casino Royale quickly diminishes in this film, and it becomes just a series of action scenes. And because of that, a lot of people hate this film. Now, something I want to make clear is that while I do consider this the weakest of Craig's run, I actually don't hate it. I don't even dislike it. In fact, I don't mind it. Mainly because while the action is the domineering element here, and that's usually not just what Bond's about, I still enjoyed it for what it was. And Daniel Craig himself still gives us a great performance as Bond, and it's enough that you still care for the character. Now, because there are only so many strong elements to this film, for many people, I know it's not enough to salvage this as a whole. But for me, while it's disappointing coming off Casino Royale, I still find it to be fine for what it is. I'd still give it a positive score, even though it's still the worst of the bunch. At number 4 is Spectre, the second of the Sam Mendes directed Bond films, which is certainly entertaining, though isn't quite on the same level as Mendes' first Bond film, Skyfall. This marks a return to the classic Bond formula, with a more lighthearted tone that's admittedly not going to work for everyone, as it does mark a slight departure from the darker elements of the first 3 films, and I know a lot of people love this run of films for their darker tone, so I get it, but I honestly found it to be fun, with the use of humor being welcome, and the action being stylish and choreographed well. Where this film actually stumbles for me is its use of the villains. While I like Dave Bautista as the henchman character Mr. Hinks, the use of Christoph Waltz as Blofeld was more of a mixed bag for me, with story elements that weren't quite as grand in scale as the movie hoped it would be, along with a reveal that was lifted directly out of the Austin Powers movies, which themselves are parodies of the Bond films, and for me, it was a bit much to take seriously. Still, it's an entertaining film overall, the good outweighs the bad, and it's something I wouldn't mind revisiting. At number 3 is No Time to Die. The swan song to Craig's run as Bond is a bittersweet end to this series of films. While I was disappointed with the villain played by Rami Malek, and do think that the nearly 3-hour runtime was a tad excessive, everything else about this movie is great. The action is done in such a way that it evokes a wide range of emotions, from chills to even some brief laughs, thanks to Cary Fukunaga's direction, and it really does a nice job of tying together all the movies, as it revisits storylines from Casino Royale as a way of addressing themes like confronting your past. Craig is once again top-notch here, as are Léa Seydoux as Madeline Swan, along with all the returning faces from the past films, and even some new ones like Lashana Lynch and Ana de Armas. It's heartfelt, it's emotional, and an absolute blast, and it sees Craig's run going out on a high note. At number 2 is Skyfall, a return to form for the Bond series after the very polarizing Quantum of Solace. This sees the introduction of several long-running Bond elements like the gadgets, Moneypenny, and Q, and it does a great job of having the supporting players take on more active roles, in particular Judi Dench as M in what's easily her best outing as the character. And this is probably the first time it really got to show off how great at action director Sam Mendes is here, with each of the fight scenes being absolutely pulse-pounding. Though, while the fight scenes are cool, I'd say this is more of a somber, reflective Bond film than we've seen so far. Not to the point of depressing or anything, but this tackles themes like your past coming back to haunt you, in particular with M's storyline, and it can feel a bit quiet from time to time in its reliance on atmosphere. But it's still got all the makings of a classic Bond film, in particular its riveting title song, as well as Javier Bardem as the villain Raul Silva, who is easily one of the best Bond villains in recent memory. This not only served as a step back in the right direction for the series after its more divisive predecessor, but it's easily up there as one of the best Bond films of all time. But in first place is Casino Royale, the film that rebooted the entire James Bond franchise, showing us a Bond who's at the start of his career and arguably at his most vulnerable. Moving away from the reliance on high-tech gadgets and goofy villains that primarily made up the James Bond franchise, this is a darker take on the character, made at the height of when a lot of franchises were doing gritty reboots on major franchises. Though this doesn't go darker just for the sake of it, giving Bond probably one of his most emotional arcs in quite some time, and it's one that's riveting from start to finish, boosted especially by Martin Campbell's direction, who makes something as simple as a poker game feel as intense as an actual fight scene. It's also elevated not just by a fantastic performance by Craig himself, but also Eva Green as one of the best Bond girls, Vesper Lynd, as well as Mads Mikkelsen as one of the best Bond villains, Le Chiffre. It's stylish, action-packed, and exciting, and it comes in as my #1 Daniel Craig James Bond film. And that's my ranking of all 5 Daniel Craig James Bond movies. Sorry I was delayed on this. My schedule was a bit screwed up with my recent brief YouTube break, but I'm glad I still got to do this. At some point, I would also like to revisit some of the older Bond films as well, because while this isn't exactly one of my favorite franchises ever, I do think that each run does have something cool to offer in their own way, and it would be fun to discuss some of these more in depth at some point. But until then, stay tuned for more review series, rankings, and reviews of new films coming soon. But let me know, what's your ranking of the Daniel Craig Bond movies? Did you agree with this list at all? Did you disagree? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.